Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today is the 15th day of June 2023. We are looking at oil and gas law or petroleum law, as you may wish to call it. And today we will be introducing a topic, the legal regime for the decommissioning and abandonment of petroleum installations. The legal regime for the decommissioning and abandonment of petroleum installations. Learning outcomes, what you should know at the end of this class. You should be able to know what is decommissioning, what does it entail, why decommissioning, the purpose, the problems associated with it, and then you should be able to have some understanding of the legal framework for decommissioning. We will look at the international regime, and then we will look at the domestic regime as well. So by way of introduction, you can look up that you know that petroleum, the production of petroleum often has a cycle. The cycle begins, of course, with the granting of concessionary licenses or permits to oil companies to go out and to explore for this oil. If they find, then exploit, eventually transport, process, and then retail it to consumers, end consumers. So that basically is a cycle. Are you with me? Now, after you grant these oil companies these concessionary rights, like we explained earlier, it is usually for a time frame. Nigeria, we know that the maximum is 20 years, although there is possibility of renewal. Is that also?
Yes, sir.
After you've granted them these concessionary rights, the next thing is for them to jump in and commence production. After production is over, we believe that if the lease expires, the government has the right not to renew and then to grant that concession to another company. But as is often the case, the government may renew, and so that same oil company may continue producing probably until that field, the petroleum in that particular field or acreage is totally exhausted. When the petroleum is exhausted, the next stage we want to now get to is decommissioning. The installations, the rigs, the wellheads, the pipelines, are you with me? The flow stations, and all those facilities that you have installed on the environment, we want to now ensure that because they have become by and large waste products, except there's a possibility of recycling them. Is that also? We want to ensure that you adequately and properly decommission. Decommission basically means that you are now removing those installations that you had inserted on the environment in the course of your activities. And we want to ensure that, first of all, the company that installed them is also the company that will come to decommission them. Secondly, we want to ensure that adequate infrastructure, capacity, and funding is made available for decommissioning. Because if these installations are not adequately decommissioned, then they could have negative implications for the environment. Are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. So, decommissioning is not just a petroleum, oil and gas industry affair. Even when we look at the nuclear and the security sector, countries that invest significantly, particularly during a period of war, a country, in order to protect themselves against their enemies, will want to mine, M-I-N-E, put landmines or bombs. Is that also, Tarila?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that their enemies that are coming in will step on those mines and then be destroyed in vast numbers. Now at the end of this war, if you don't properly decommission these bombs that you have installed, then you may have a case of, because one thing about such bombs is that for the most part, they can be functionally within the next 80 years, 90 years. There are still fields in aspects of Europe that if you go, you may still step on bombs that may explode. Or countries like DR Congo now that are having problems, or northeastern part of Nigeria, you want to set these traps to destroy your enemies, but at the end of the war, peace has returned. What mechanism have we put in place to adequately decommission these infrastructure installations? What about nuclear materials? You know about nuclear materials, radiation and all that. You set up these plants, and then if you don't properly manage them, then there could also be the possibility of accident. Is that not so? Yes, so decommissioning is not only limited to petroleum. Decommissioning refers to activities, let me say this for purpose of my recording, taken at the end of the useful life of a facility in retiring it from service with adequate regard for the health and safety of workers and members of the public. Activities taken at the end of the useful life of a facility in retiring it from service with adequate regard for the health and safety of workers and members of the public. So today I will do more of introduction if we are able to meet tomorrow, because I didn't meet with you on Tuesday. And I think last week I met with you only once. I feel that I've been cheating you people. So if my health allows, I should still meet with you tomorrow so that we tidy up the commissioning. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And then you said the exam is when? July, 10th of July. I have given people presentations. How many of you have I given topics to present? Peace has presented. Who else? 3 of you. Kuro. And is that not Kuro? That is Blessing. Where is Kuro? Okay, both of you look alike. I don't know. Has anybody told you that before? You used to look alike in my eyes. I don't know why. So Blessing and Egele and Edo too. The same topic?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So who have I not given? It's your place to remind me so that I'll give you your presentation. Then I told you I'll give you a take-home assignment. Have I given you?
No, sir.
Have I not given you any take-home assignments?
No, sir.
Good. So Tarila, remind me to send it today, tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So that you can have at least 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to work on it. And then, yes, so please let's ensure that you remind me. We'll take the presentations. We'll start, let's say tomorrow we'll take some presentations. Is that okay? Yes. Are you ready? Are you ready, sir? Or you want it for next week?
Yes.
It's okay then. So I'll just read what I have here for my slide. At the end of at the completion of crude oil production, oil wells are to be permanently plugged in order to protect the environment. This must be done in pursuance to legal and institutional arrangements. The commissioning concerns the last phase in the lifespan of any oil and gas project. Plugging and abandonment processes must be regulated by law. At its core, decommissioning is about restoration. That is, returning the site to its previous state or as close as possible to what it was initially. In essence, a justification for decommissioning lies in restorative justice. Restorative justice. So if the oil company has built these huge facilities, either offshore or onshore, then it is very important that at the end of everything it should decommission properly. Now if it is offshore, it is even more risky because most of these installations are rooted underground. Is that not so? and if you finish your production, you abandon it without adequately decommissioning it, then it could not just have environmental risk, it could also have negative implications for other persons that may want to use the water. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes, boats or large ships may get struck by some of these facilities that are underwater. You know about the Titanic? You know about the Titanic?
Yes, sir.
What do you know about the Titanic? Blessing? Nothing. Laser? What do you know about the Titanic?
The Titanic was one of the largest ships ever built, and it sunk when it hit an iceberg.
Iceberg. Blessing, you've never heard of Titanic?
I have.
Okay, try your best. Don't you watch movies?
I do.
Try, read about it. Every one of you should know. So the Titanic, for example, was struck. You know about it, my son Egeme? Egele?
Yes, sir.
Good. So Titanic was struck by an iceberg, and so some of these underwater installations can even affect tankers and ships. That's what I'm trying to say. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So the law of the sea, as we will see presently, also has some concerns about the decommissioning of installations that are installed underwater. So decommissioning is generally an approved manner of closing down, dismantling, and clearing up all equipment and possible hazards at the sites of crude oil operation at the end of the life cycle of the site. That is decommissioning. Abandonment is similar to decommissioning, but abandonment connotes a situation whereby you abandon the site without properly decommissioning. Are you with me? Are you with me? Because like I said, the aim of the oil company at this point is to make profits, and most times in making this profit you do not factor decommissioning costs. Your own is to make current profits. Now you finish making your profit and the oil is not running again, there's no more oil on the ground. The quick thing they want to do is to divest or to move away. Are you with me? And so they could abandon these installations, and so they become a shelf, or a shell of what was, a monument, if you may, of what had been, so that anybody who comes to that place, you can say, oh, oil companies used to be here, these are their installations. If you go to Ghana, I was in Ghana in 2010. I wish I can go again. I pray that one day God will grant me that dream. Now in Ghana, you see a lot of installations, slave trade installations. Tarila, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you see them. And so it is now a tourist attraction where you go, you pay a token fee, and then there's a tour guide. I think we have a few of them at Badagry and a few of them at Calabar, but it's more in Ghana, where you see the installations that the white man put in place to enslave the black man. You see the place you get to, they call it the point of no return. Once you get to that place, you know you're not returning back to Africa. You see where they chain them, you see where they move them to next. Every phase of the process of enslavement and eventual transportation of the Negroes to the Americas and to Europe are still there. They are like monuments. I don't know if you understand. Slave trade is no longer there. Why shouldn't we dismantle these things? Say, no, let's keep them as a reminder of our past. You know, so if you don't adequately decommission these facilities, then they become monuments. Are you with me? It's just that in this case, they could have environmental or negative environmental implications or impact, as you may. So decommissioning is expensive, and that is one reason why a lot of companies don't even tend to want to focus on it. And secondly, like for us in Nigeria, we have not really started decommissioning our facilities because most of our wells are still producing. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
But a number of people have started asking that it is important. Please pass it around. I supervised this research. I supervise that work. A number of scholars are beginning to ask questions that what can we do as a country to ensure that we have adequate framework for decommissioning, because even though it has not been a problem yet in Nigeria, it is going to be a problem soon. Most of our fields are becoming very mature. Are you with me? And very soon they are going to be ripe for decommissioning. Secondly, we all know that a number of these international oil companies are beginning to divest from their land assets to focus on offshore. And for them, their main excuse is security. It's safer for them to operate offshore because militants and oil thieves cannot go offshore. It's like the sleep has come. Oh.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Your eye is looking down again.
No, sir.
It's okay. So that concern is there. What legal framework then can we have to capture these concerns? What if these oil companies are beginning to abandon? They are divesting not because of security, but they are divesting because of the obligations they may have to contend with in the eventual end of the life cycle of their concessions. That is a concern. Some are also concerned that most of these divestments are done because of the current environmental cases they are having in court. Nigerian lawyers are beginning to rise up to the occasion by getting judgment against international oil companies. 20 years ago, it was almost impossible to win a case against an IOC, but today that is not so much a problem. Among other things, the local standing rule has been significantly whittled down progressively, and you know the case of Oil Pollution Watch versus what? NNPC, good, and a number of these recent decisions. And so it is felt that they are divesting not for security but to avoid liability. Are you with me?
Yes.
Some also feel that they are divesting because they don't want to decommission. So what is the legal framework that we have in place? So what does decommissioning, what does it entail? It entails going through several phases or processes or steps depending on whether the facility in question is located onshore or offshore. Definitely if it's onshore, it should be easier than if it is offshore. It also includes or entails the safe plugging of the well on the surface of the earth or in the deep shallow offshore. It also entails discarding the equipment that you use in oil production. You have to discard that equipment. Are you with me? Either you recycle it, if it is recyclable, or you totally destroy it, or you have a place, a proper approved government site where you can dump these waste products that you are no longer going to use. Though very expensive, decommissioning is a fast emerging market sector in the oil and gas industry with foremost probable risk. So like I say, it's an emerging sector because all over the world, countries are becoming more conscious of the need to adequately decommission and to ensure that they are able to address these concerns. Certain problems relating to decommissioning, we have talked about orphan well problems. Orphan well problem or an orphan well, this occurs where the party for decommissioning and monitoring of the well is not available. You cannot see the person. So the well is like, it doesn't have a father or a mother. That's why we use the word orphan well. It's a situation in which a party or the party responsible for decommissioning and monitoring of a well is missing. The second problem are run-away well problems. Run-away well problems. This occurs when the well pressure is no longer under control, which may lead to the release of hydrocarbon. This occurs when the well pressure is no longer under control, which may lead to the release of hydrocarbons. Good. Now let's look briefly at the impact of decommissioning. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
If you don't decommission properly, plug in the well and all that, then you may have this runaway well problem. What is runaway well problem? It occurs when the well pressure is not controlled, which may lead to the releasing of hydrocarbons. Are you with me? Yes, and so that, among other things, can result in the waste of resources. That is the first problem. Can result in the waste of resources. And the legal and regulatory risk associated with orphan wells, the legal and regulatory risks that are associated with orphan wells may also drive oil field specialists and investors away. People who want to invest may also be afraid to invest if they feel that the legal and regulatory risk associated with orphan wells is very, very high. Very, very high. Then, of course, there are economic challenges. We are looking at the impact. The government itself will lose because, particularly if the government is not a responsible government, if it is not able to find the party that will decommission the well, then the government will have to bear that burden as a last resort. And in doing so, the government will lose significantly. It will lose money significantly. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Poor decommissioning will also lead to injustice, particularly for the people around that environment. They will suffer the brunt of the impact of the absence of adequate decommissioning. Okay. Any questions? Yes, my son.
So if the government and the private oil company, they have a joint venture agreement or PSC,
Yes.
and at the end of the concession, who is going to do the commission? Is it the government or the private oil company?
Good question from an intelligent man. It's the private company. We'll look at it soon. We'll look at it tomorrow. Today, what I'm doing for you is to just give you introduction. Because of my health, I will not be able to talk much. As you all live here now, I will sleep for 30 minutes because I took a medication we call Procode. Who has heard of it? Procode. So I'm already getting drowsy. But I will do what I can. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. I should be the one thanking you. I should be the one to thank you. I've already told you that decommissioning is not a profitable exercise from the perspective of the oil company, and it's something that can occur at a time. The need to decommission may occur at a time when you are not even making so much profit, because when you were first given the oil block, probably the oil was much, you were pumping 200,000 barrels daily. The more you keep pumping, after some time it will come to 100,000. Is that not so?
Yes.
And then you keep pumping in 50,000, and then 10,000, and then maybe 1,000 daily. By that, as at that time, you are not making as much profit as you were making 40 years ago. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes.
And it is at this time now you are now required to bring in the funds to decommission. So the oil company does not often see it from as a positive development. That notwithstanding, in order to ensure that this decommissioning occurs, we have now had to have legal regimes, legal frameworks to regulate it, and these legal frameworks can be located internationally or locally. Are you with me?
Yes.
Where the government now imposes obligations, and then we have international obligations as well that mandate the oil companies to ensure that they properly decommission and, if possible, restore the land to what it used to be. So we'll stop here for today. I just wanted to give us a short introduction, and then when we meet tomorrow, we will still continue, but we'll look basically at the legal framework. Yes, yes, ma'am. Question, yes.
Okay. Since most of these investors are leaving this onshore to go offshore,
Yes.
will they still be mandated to decommission their facilities offshore too?
Offshore, definitely. We'll look at the legal framework. That's an intelligent question from an intelligent girl. We'll look at the legal framework for Nigeria. We'll look at the Petroleum Industry Act. The act, as you will see, has now provided for a decommissioning fund. We'll talk about it. Is that okay?
Yes.
And then we'll look at the international framework. We'll look at UNCLOS. We'll look at Geneva. We'll look at the London Anti-Dumping Convention. Have you of that? And then we will see.
I'm turning off now, sir.
Okay, off it, please. We will now carry on from there until we complete the class. So please, you don't have any lecture tomorrow, do you? For your lecturers don't usually come on Friday, do they?
It comes by 2.
From 2 o'clock.
I don't want to.
Eh?
I'm trying to.
Okay.